Gears Tactics is a turn-based tactical game where you control a squad in the early days of the Locust Horde invasion of the planet Sarah. It is developed by Splash Damage and Coalition. Coalition has done a lot of the past Gears games, Splash Damage specifically, with multiplayer, and published by Xbox Game Studios. It is available only on Microsoft Windows right now, along with Game Pass through PC. It is planned to be released later, though, to the Xbox console. Now, this one is a different take than like Halo Wars is with the Halo franchise, in that it's turn-based. You're controlling one unit at a time, and these ones don't come out too often. Like XCOM is the most recent, biggest game that has come out, but they're trying their hand at translating the Gears of War formula to a tactics game, and it kind of works.
Humanity had finally found peace until Emergence Day.
Gears Tactics is set at the very beginning, right after E-Day. They call it Emergence Day, being the earliest in the timeline for any of the Gears of War games. Gears of War 1, this one is 12 years prior to that. And people have been asking about this for a long time, and Pendulum Wars, which is prior to E-Day. And here they finally got it, not in the form really of a tactics game, but it has all the elements of those early Gears of War games in the first trilogy. You communicate with Chairman Prescott, a young version of him, obviously, and you play as Gabe Diaz. You start off with a group of soldiers early on, and then it's not long before you are in contact with another one that is connected to Prescott, and then you start doing what he wants in all of these missions, and then find out what is really going on. This is kind of the trope that they stick with in all the games, is that kind of government sort of mistrust thing, what is really going on, and then finding out about the Locust a bit more. And same type of thing, they have that with this one as well, but there's less emphasis on the characters this time around, and that's why you have these random characters that they won't have in future ones, it is implied. It's more about the characters that you get, the customization, and focus on the gameplay more so. Because even with like the story type of missions, you're doing this for that, this for that. Later on, we'll be talking about the side missions. They kind of just blend together because there aren't that many type of missions that you'll be playing, and only in single player. Like with other Gears of War games, though, it has beautifully rendered cutscenes before and after particular story missions, and the same type of dumb comments you have in some of these that make it more unrealistic. But really, I was more attached, I think, to this group because it is just people that aren't associated with past members. So they feel a little bit more like real people compared to past iterations. You have your hero characters that have to survive each of the missions, but this one's less character driven because they try to focus as much as possible on the characters that you pick up and customize, and then you constantly get new ones. Starting a new game, though, you have a variety of difficulties. I checked out Intermediate, which I played through, but I also did Experienced, and the AI is better. It's easier to do with these type of games, but it is much better compared to like other Gears of War games that have become more of a shooting gallery type of a thing. So, as I mentioned before, it is turn-based, so you have to plan all of your moves per character. You have so many action points going from one location to the next. If you have obstacles or people that are covering, which is called Overwatch, you'll see a red line for the enemy, blue for your side. And you have different abilities, like here you're seeing Sprint. That's one ability with the Scout, who also has their own weapon, the shotgun. When you're using a weapon or ability, you see its hit percentage. This is kind of the RNG factor in terms of attacking as well as picking up cases. But it'll say a percentage, 100, all the way down to 0, or it won't show up that you can do a hit. And then even if you can kill an enemy, a little skull will appear above. Each character has a weapon that's associated with a class. Like for the sniper rifle, Scout has the shotgun, and then abilities through a tech tree that you can complete as they level up. The first enemies that you usually counter are already on the map past the fog of war. You either accidentally run into them or you hear them pass there. After they're cleared out, the Reavers drop off more groups, and then you'll have different compositions and that get more difficult the farther you get into the game. When you run into one for the first time, though, it tells you the type of enemy and certain things to look out for, what they're strong with. And this is the part where it works. Like, there's such a variety in Gears of War, and it does very well with the cover mechanic that's already built in. You have like the fast melee, fast exploders, like with the ticker, and then the usual grunt soldier with the hammer burst rifle, to the boomer that can clear out the groups. And they're distributed well. You're not going to run into too many overpowered units, but all the ones that you would expect to see in Gears of War, you're going to run into, and they behave in a manner that you would expect. The good part is in terms of the AI, there isn't that just sitting around thing and then you're shooting at them. Sometimes they run away, but then they'll often come back. The types of missions that you have, there are story ones and then side ones, but they kind of get blended together. A lot of them involve going to a particular point, and then it might trigger something. You have that early on with a lot of the story missions, but the farther I got into the game, then it started to get mixed. So what are they? So one of them, control. You control 2 points on the map, and as long as you have one of the troops there and you get to the flag in the middle, then the mission is immediately over. Another one, you are grabbing packages. These you'll use to upgrade your troops. There's some RNG here where it's random stuff. And then there's a bombing run that is constantly pushing you forward. I found this one to be the weakest because you're just running forward. They're trying to do something different, but it's the most shallow of all of them. And probably the most complex one is rescuing either like civilians or other gears in these pods throughout the map. You often don't have your full strength squad because you have to add 1 or 2. So the max that you often have is 2 or even just 1. After each mission, though, story or side mission, you get certain items that you'll be using to upgrade the weapons and armor of your troops. This is the same whether it's a hero unit or it is a recruited unit. Some of these you know what you're getting, others though are random, and then you get like the epic and legendary the farther you get into the game doing each of the side missions. This is something you want to be involved with. You can't ignore it. Even though your new recruits have decent armor, decent weapons, you'll want to be collecting this stuff as well as leveling up all of your soldiers, kind of switching things out, and even you can even delete some and get some new ones if they're a higher level. But this is, I found this to be pretty fun. Like at first it's a pain, a bit overwhelming because you have to individually go back and then do the helmet and then do this kind of a thing. And you want to do mouse and keyboard. Controller, this would just be a pain if you're playing on controller for PC. But this I found to be a lot of fun because you can customize each of the soldiers. The weakness is they're leveled up, so if you wait a while, you'll get a leveled up soldier and you just kind of get rid of them. In terms of glitches, I just found this funny one where the character turned white. This was just for a minute when I was doing the customization. And then another one I had was a crash, but this was when I was in a loading screen. It wasn't within mission, but this just kind of went out right out of the blue. I was changing the hairstyle, and then like the top half of the entire character turned white. But then it turned back when I waited like a minute or two. The story is the usual stuff for a Gears of War game, where it's mildly dumb that people are arguing with each other. Some of like the dialogue is stupid, and then the government conspiracy cover-up thing. You have Prescott and several of the other games that he's trying to cover something up specifically with this one, but then you're going along with it that they've done with other games. Gameplay-wise, it fits well in the turn-based tactical genre, mainly with what is already established in the enemies with Gears of War. You have a variety, like the fast melee wretches, the tickers that come and explode, to like long range with the sniper, and then in between like drones with hammer burst rifles, where you have to respond depending on the enemy or enemies that you are facing and their composition. Main negative is the objective modes. Like you'll have the capture, you'll have the control, but these bleed over into the story missions, especially late game, where it feels like a side mission, like you're capturing something, controlling something. And I often forget that, this is a story mission only broken up by the boss fights. It's a solid tactics game, and I recommend it. The only thing with the genre is it's not appealing to many people. It's not going to be, boom, action, play a little bit, easy to wrap your mind around. I mean, you have the fiddling also too, like the RPG thing where you're changing your character, and you have to be involved in this to really enjoy it. So depends on where you're at. Like if you're a big fan of turn-based tactics games like XCOM, then I would actually buy it because there's a decent amount of content here. You got 30 hours around then, easy. And then after you beat it, you can do like veteran mode. You have modifiers where you can change different things. If you're keen on it, you're a fan of Gears of War, then it's worth getting through Game Pass first and then playing it as much as you want. And then even at that point, you could still buy it because there is enough content here. They're going to add more in the future on Game Pass. If you like this video, please give it a like. Subscribe if you really liked it. Check out the links below if you are getting it on Game Pass. And I will see you next time.